Welcome back to the Eric Krown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy early start to this Friday morning. It's the end of the week here. We're going to be wrapping up some pretty high-term time frame ideas and a few things in motion as of right now, which always begs the question, is it a trap? Is it a trap? We used to watch this stupid show on Netflix, I think it was, where it was called Is This Cake? And people would make cakes that look super realistic, and then they would cut it. They would try to cut it and be like, is it okay? It's fucking dumb. Anyways, yes, okay, before we get into it, I do want to let you know that this is the last couple days of the sale going on right now. The reason why this one is in particularly important is because all of the current indicators, that being the HPDR, the advanced stochastics, and Caretaker's RSI, are going to be going on to a monthly service base rather than just a one-time purchase base, which we have for the next, basically until the sale ends. Now, the quant program as well, next month, at the end, or basically at the beginning of July, will go on to a monthly service as well. However, it will be bundled with a few other very, very fun things. So it'll kind of change, but I do want to let you know that if you are interested in that, this will be, this next month will be kind of the last time to actually own it for one full price. But like I said, we're going to be adding some very fun automation tools, actually. Anyways, other than that, as always, if you're interested in any of the programs or products, please watch the promotional videos in the Krown Trading Application Store, as they're going to explain who they're for and who they're not for. And with that said, let's just jump right into it. So first things first, I want to start off things on on a pretty simplistic note here. So a few days ago, we were looking at a range break below about 27.5 or 27.200, depending upon the time frame that you're using. As very likely indicative of Bitcoin coming back down to the prior range lows, that being the mid to low $26,000 territory. It looks like we've gotten that low as of right now. 26,560 is the low on CME right here. On spot price action, we have low of the day. Yeah, a little bit lower than that actually. So in this case, I would say that is essentially filled, also fulfilling gap fill right there as well. And what do you know? Bitcoin actually putting in something potentially resembling a trap or reversal, whatever the fuck you want to call it. That's fine by me. Maybe a bit of clickbait is necessary in this day and age. But in this case, what do we see potentially forming as of right now? Well, we see a high, a low, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high. Is this potentially a higher low in progress right here? It could very well be. And in this case, this is kind of where you would expect a trap to form. Not necessarily a trap, honestly, but this is kind of where you would expect a higher low to form if Bitcoin BULAs are going to take over. So this is actually a very, very important area right here, meaning that essentially as long as Bitcoin is above the low of today, I do look at this as, as potential higher low in place, and Bitcoin likely to charge its way back up towards 28,000 bucks actually. In this case, I do want to now go over here to the 5-day time frame. It actually just closed last night for CME, and as you can see, a little bit of a doji dildo right there, which is a signal of indecision and perhaps even reversal. Again, anywhere above or below the wick high or the wick low, this one very likely to lead towards major continuation. In this case, it's a lot easier to kind of judge to the upside, as anywhere above the high side of this one at 28,665, very likely to retest the highs that we saw in April. Basically above 30,000 bucks. By the same token, below again, the last 5-day low, which is just under 26,000 bucks. At that point, very, 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 very likely Bitcoin's going to be moving its way closer to 24.5 or somewhere around there before the next sort of major stop. Probably 24.8 actually is the area that I would still be looking at. Same thing as before, essentially. But for right now, so far so good. If we throw in the Gaussian channel, we can see that this would essentially be considered a test or a retest of the mean band here. And again, the same sort of thing that we've been looking at, still applies here. As long as Bitcoin's above the mean band, more likely to play between the top side and the mean right there, with the resolution above the top side, which is actually above 30,000 bucks, meaning that if Bitcoin can actually bust its way back above there, 30,000 bucks, we're in for a pretty significant rally, extension into the mid, maybe even deep $30,000 territory. But until then, it can play within that region for quite some time. Similar to what we saw back here. Yeah, actually, in a lot of ways, very, very similar to what we saw back on over here in April of 2020, where it was coming off of the Rona dump. And then, of course, Bitcoin reclaimed the mean band, played between the top side and the mean for, it doesn't look like much on a 5-day time frame, but this went all the way from April and then busted through in July, So actually rather similar even in timing over here as well. If we go back to this one, yeah, this one started to work its way into at the end of March, early April, and does it work its way up into July as well? Is this month of June going to be sideways and like slightly up, and then July maybe busts on through? Perhaps, yeah. So ultimately, that's kind of what's at stake right here for the more, I guess, like long term in this case. And then we can move on into, of course, HPDR ranges. So I'll just be looking at the 4-hour time frame right here. I think it gets things rather well in this case. We can see that the median's coming in right around 27,100, which Bitcoin's actually about $100 above right now. If Bitcoin can really start to reclaim this region, I'd really want to see like a closure, maybe back above like 27,250, kind of the same breakdown area that we had as before here. Yeah, about 27,250. At that point, I'd be looking for Bitcoin to kind of, come back to this same area that we saw just a few days ago, earlier this week, Monday, Tuesday area, somewhere, around 28,000 bucks, give or take a few bucks from that number. And this really starts to look like a higher low. And at that point, any sort of a trade above that prior high that we did see again at the early portion of this week, which was 28,450 on Bybit right here. I'd be looking at that as a major continuation point, meaning probably back above 29, probably just works its way towards 30,000 bucks if and when that does happen. By the same token, very easy call to the downside here. However, anywhere below this morning's wick low, 26,500, at that point, get ready for some actual like significant downside, maybe a short-term bounce attempt at like just under 26, but I think it'd probably be just that, a short-term bounce attempt before getting ready for those sub $25,000 prices. Anyways, yes, we've got that. Let's go ahead and reference stochastic momentum. Start off with the 2-day time frame right here, and we'll actually go into maybe a little more detail on the 2-day time frame, as I think it's time to follow up on it a bit here. But 2-day time frame on CME now is actually starting to pop up on stochastic momentum, and will be remaining with upside momentum as long as Bitcoin's above 26,640, a few bucks above the current low of the day. So again, I do kind of like that area as a major pivot alongside extreme lows on volatility. Daily time frame is going to also be vertical right here as it continues to maintain above that level 26,450, which again, that's about the low of the day thus far. So I do still like that as a continuation for downside, like major downside, like not just like range downside, but major downside. But in this case, yeah, 26,450 remains with upside posture. And we haven't even seen volatility start to expand here as well, which is very, very interesting. Going over to the 12-hour time frame, this one's going to be headed to the downside as long as Bitcoin's below 28. But I do believe it's the odd man out as a 6-hour time frame, also crossing up as long as Bitcoin's above 26,850. 4-hour time frame also going to be showing upside above 26,820, and hourly is probably flippy floppy and maybe actually also up as well as long as Bitcoin's above 26,800. So yeah, 12-hour time frame was the odd man out in this case. I do think that this one's more likely to try some upside within this particular posturing. Anyways, so we've gone through that. I do want to once again go over this setup over here. Daily Jewel, we pointed out, I think it was earlier this week, maybe, the old $1 million indicator. Great clickbait right there. Great fucking clickbait, man. But good job, marketing man. Good job. But in this case, we can see, it's actually basically back around where that first initial, setup fired off, which was actually about 15 days ago now, 15 days ago in May. But anyways, what is the setup? The setup is this. Anytime that we do see that the daily Jewel light goes below about 38 and then turns white alongside PMARP being below 35 percentile, that has initiated a setup of which we can use a strategy tester to backtest all of these. And out of the full history of Bitcoin, there's been 49 of these. And out of those 49, 67.35% did have a nice upside movement over the course of, the average return for the winning side, in this case to the upside, was about 22.5%. Actually, about the same for the losing side as well. Meaning that while it does have a higher probability for the win side, if it does end up being a loser, we're very likely to see much further down. Anyways, we can also see the amount of time on average that it takes for the winning trades, which is 33, which was what we pointed out earlier this week, saying that, hey, this thing still has time to come back down to the bottoms of the range and then begin its move, because we expect this one, based off the statistics that it does have, That's going to take longer. And 33 days from the 15th of May over here, that puts us into basically the midpoint of June, right? So if we basically, what is that saying? It's saying that if we don't see Bitcoin really start to work its way back up towards, especially above this last high right here, like 28.5 or so, or even 29,000 bucks for that matter, by about the midpoint of this month. At that point, probably going to be turning to the downside, because the longer that it goes above 33 days, the more and more likely it's going to be a loser, because the average amount of time is taken in the losing trades was, I believe, 44, somewhere around there. It was certainly higher though. That indeed I do know. But putting 22% on top of current price action, where would that put Bitcoin? That puts Bitcoin close to or above 33,000 bucks. So if that does play out, that would still be in the cards again sometime around mid, maybe end of this month. And then of course that's going to be hand in hand with the 2-day time frame setup over here. Now there's not a whole hell of a lot to update with it actually. I just wanted to point out that the 2-day time frame BBWP representing volatility has come pretty much all the way down to the lowest levels that we've seen basically since January of 2023. That was preluding that major breakout from like 17,000 to 20, like what was that first high, like 23 to 25,000 bucks, something like that. Anyways, in this case, still baking right here. But the more important thing with it is that it has allowed the 2-day time frame stochastic oscillator to have a full-on reset, and is remaining with its upside posture, and as long as Bitcoin's above 26,300 now. So we see a lot of those numbers kind of in like the mid to low $26,000 territory line up here, meaning that again, if Bitcoin starts to lose that region, probably going to be a big move to the downside. I would say at least below 25, and maybe even like 21, 22. I do still think kind of like worst case scenario from here is about 21,000 bucks to the downside. But in this case, still going to be favoring the upside as long as that's happening. Just waiting for a volatility expansion, which I suspect is not going to be this week, or probably, maybe we see it next week, but not going to be this week. Anyways, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular video. Kind of short and sweet. I hope it's more on the simplistic side, because that's really what things feel like right now. It's just, now it's just waiting for resolutions. So while no one's kind of paying attention to this market, important things do happen. Oh, that reminds me, I did forget to mention a few interesting things here. So if we go over to NASDAQ futures, I just wanted to point out that the 6-month time frame has done something very, very interesting. It's traded above the high of that last inverted doji. It's actually not a doji, but it's an inverted hammer right here, whatever the fuck you want to call it. A signal of of a potential reversal on a 6-month fucking time frame, which is actually gonna be closing at the end of this month of June. And then also our gold bounce that we were looking for at the earlier portion of this week, seemingly playing out as well. Yeah, nice move right there. And I do suspect that this one does try a little bit higher, maybe closer to like 2,000 bucks officially. So does that bode well for Bitcoin, as these things typically trade with each other? Yeah, its corollaries are showing some strength here. But yeah, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off. As always, want to be wishing you the best of the best. Oh, by the way, if you're in the quant program, we're going to send out an email on this. Maybe Monday we'll do it, but it'll go live tonight, and I'll make an announcement in the quant program Discord there. But we're going to call it the skeletons key, but it's basically like a massive. It's like a massive strategy builder that you can use, that you can then go ahead and test things with, using the strategy tester right here, and fill it out and try all sorts of crazy ideas that you might have, or not so crazy ideas too. That would also be maybe worthwhile. And that will be available to you for a monthly service, probably starting tonight. So hopefully I'll have some more information on that later today. With that said, wish you the best of us as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.